Okay, so I think we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this discussion panel hosted by Beirut AI as part of the AI weekend. And today we have with us three Lebanese leaders and technology experts who are creating an impact every day in their fields. They will be sharing with us how AI is implemented in the cultures and the products of their companies. I would like to briefly introduce our speakers. First, we have with us Rudy Shoushany. And Rudy is a technology strategist in governance and cybersecurity for digital transformation with 21 years of experience in financial sector. He was awarded the executive leadership by PwC and selected as the top 50 global thought leader and influencer. He's also a moderator and a host of the show DxTalks. And he's also a coach and a mentor for various startups and hackathons. So thank you for being here with us, Rudy. We're very happy to have you today.
Likewise, likewise.
Thank you. We also have with us Rani Haddad. Rani is a technologist with diverse experience in IT, cybersecurity, and digital transformation. He's a platform and community builder. He co-founded Axon Technologies, a cybersecurity company which is headquartered in Dubai. Rani, hello, and welcome in this discussion panel.
Thank you, Ala. I'm very, very excited to be here.
Thank you. And we also have with us today Mohammed Bisrouji, who is a multi-awards winner and a technology professional with a diverse experience in managing large projects and delivering cutting-edge technologies and software solutions. And Mohammed is a co-founder and CEO of an Irish technology company named Strafe, which is focused on developing advanced AI-enabled digital business flows for governmental, financial, and insurance companies. We are very happy to have you with us, Mohammed. So thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine.
Thank you. So I'm excited personally. I hope you're excited as I am for this discussion panel and interesting AI discussions. I would also like to thank our audience who tuned in today for this discussion panel. Also, I would encourage the audience to post their questions over the chat, like all the questions during the discussion, and we will try as much as possible to answer all of them if we can. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with a question that's addressed to all the panelists. I would like to ask you, how are you applying artificial intelligence in your business or in your work or startups? So we would like to see how you're applying AI, and we can possibly start with Rudy.
Yes, thank you for that question. Applying AI is, as you know, AI is not something new. We all live in AI. We don't know we are living in AI. We all use AI on daily basis. Somehow in between me and you, there's many AIs, being implemented. Because the way nature of work that I do, I don't really develop. I don't work on developing algorithms and so on, but I utilize AI part of my daily work, and especially for the databases or the customer, especially when you say databases, it's a too technical term, but when you say for the customer experience or for the customer relationship and so on, this is where I have the benefit of utilizing such AI technology and benefiting from it on a daily basis. And for me, I'm mentor, coach, and consultant, and of course, I run my own show, which talk about digital transformation. All of this, it's not tangible in terms of having a product or so on. So my utilization is more on the connection with the clients or the connection with the participants, the connection of the people, how I manage this on daily basis, how I have algorithms created in that CRM system which I utilize, and which is an advanced version of it. There's many CRMs that are available worldwide, but not many of them utilize such technologies. So you feed in to try to really connect the dots. This is very, 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 very keen problem, is actually connecting those dots where humanly we cannot. Once you give data, and the more data you give, you start benefiting from that AI. And then from everyday's experience and everyday's technology and everyday's work, you enhance the data, you enhance the feed where you are able to give more data so that those algorithms can really, fine tune and work better to really try to achieve more accuracy or more algorithms to try to do matching and so on and so on. So this is my daily use of AI technology. On top of we preach AI on daily basis. we give AI concepts and so on, but as far as utilization, it's around this topic.
Nice. It's actually interesting also to see companies that are actually using AI and applying it in various problems, not just adopting just the idea or the title and using different things. So it's cool that you are putting AI into good use cases. Thank you for sharing that, Rudy, with us.
Thank you.
Maybe now we can move to Rani. If you can please share how you're using AI in your company.
Yeah, sure. So AI in our field, if I want to frame it in our field, is about creating machines or intelligent machines that can simulate how humans think and how humans behave or react to certain conditions. And machine learning and automation are a subset of AI that allows computers to learn from inputting data which are not explicitly programmed. So at Axon, we're a cybersecurity services company. We have a cybersecurity fusion center, and what we do is we use a technology stack that allows us to leverage machine learning capabilities. And what we do is, obviously, these machine learning, we don't develop them; they are built into the products that we use. But what we do is we build automation on top of that output from the machine learning algorithms that are built in. So what this does, in fact, is assist our team, our analyst team, in conducting triage on incidents that are coming up on the system, looking into common incidents, and most importantly, it helps them prioritize potential threats. So, and that threats that actually require human intervention. So one of the biggest problems today in our industry is just fatigue, alert fatigue, human fatigue, analyst fatigue, because there's so much data, so many alerts just popping up everywhere, especially in large organizations, government institutions. They have so much data, flowing around, and technology will just generate so many alerts. So we kind of utilize machine learning to kind of learn what is normal in an environment, and then only kind of escalate incidents that require real intervention, instead of wasting an analyst's time, looking into every single alert, and then making it impossible to cover everything. These machine learning models are built into the tech. We also fine-tune them. So we also, for each client, we fine-tune. We have the ability to fine-tune these models, and the automations we build on top, save analysts so much time. We go into different applications, we do different things. We have capabilities where we can find an alert and then automatically kind of block an IP, for example, or disable a device without the need for human intervention. Kind of, again, it's just triaging all these alerts. So in what this does, in summary, is just reduces load on analysts and makes it so much more efficient to run a 24/7 operation with less people, less time, less resources, basically.
Yeah, thank you actually for mentioning that, Rani, because also one of the main concerns of people is that maybe with AI and data we are replacing humans. But what you're saying is that now we have more time to focus on the important alerts or on the really valid data, and then utilize the human brain and power for more important tasks. So
correct. It's actually just evolving the human role in that. We usually like tier 1 security analysts. They're usually there's a heavy load on them, and it's actually a lot of people don't last in security operations centers because of the load that they get when they enter into like a tier 1 role in a security company. And this is kind of, elevating their positions in a way where they only deal with tier 2 alerts. They're not dealing with tier 1, garbage alerts that they usually mostly noise. So when you eliminate the noise, you're giving these analysts, a more kind of more important position. They feel that they're working on something that's more relevant than just eliminating noise.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important, and I'm gonna get more into questions about details about some cybersecurity and AI questions. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing these insights.
You're welcome.
Cool. Maybe Muhammad, now you can share with us your work in AI.
Sure. I've had the pleasure to be a part of resource group for a while. So we've adopted AI, not just implemented AI. So it became part of every product or software solution or service that we wanted to offer, to have a flavor of AI where we can implement AI in. Something that I'm sure many of you is familiar with, مصلحة تسجيل السيارات, or TTVMA as we like to call it. We've implemented AI in that. People do not see it. However, every inventory or prediction analysis for the inventory system that's deployed at the TTVMA in Lebanon uses AI models to predict when and where to order plates, when and where to order, materials that are needed, and when they are required to be transported to the different headquarters within Lebanon. This is just one of the implementations of AI that has been developed by Resource Group. In Resource Group, we've also adopted AI for doing deep learning in order to classify or detect fraud in documents. So more of a vision AI implementations, because we deal with government applications and biometrics platform. In SRAFE, currently we are working with natural language processing, which is another version of AI, and we're developing our own intelligent specialist. We call her Sima, and Sima actually coordinates with people over WhatsApp or any messaging platform with the language that that person is communicating with it. So if it's English, it's English, or it's French, it's French, and so on and so forth, Arabic as well. And the idea behind it is to simulate the ability to complete transactions, whether they are insurance transactions or banking transactions, using bots or artificially intelligent natural language powered specialists that reside in the backend, so that you don't have a lot of support staff or a lot of humans in the backend doing redundant work that they don't want to do. And so we're developing on that front a lot with NLP and models. But as well in SRAFE, we're working on doing the first credit scoring system in Lebanon for analyzing credit scores for people in order to re-kickstart the economy with respect to providing people loans or doing insurance, whatever the end implementation is. We're developing the machine learning required to come up with these scores, and it's extremely difficult because you do not have as much data, or you don't have data, period, with respect to the Lebanese market or the MENA market in general, if you compare it to the States or if you compare it to Europe. But we're looking at intelligent ways of doing web scraping or learning through peer systems and recommendations, and where people support people or endorse people, and so build on credit scores of other people and other assets and things of that sort. So AI as well is heavily in depth in the solution we're building there. So quite a lot of solutions when it comes to Resource Group and SRAFE that are AI intensive, but mostly in machine learning and deep learning models.
Nice. That's very interesting. And it's I like that you highlighted the fact that all these projects, like many of them, are being applied in Lebanon, and regardless that all of maybe obstacles of the data availability and everything, but still very nice projects can come out of this. So I think it inspires other people to do the same as well, which is very good. So thank you for sharing that.
Hopefully.
Okay, cool. Then let's move on to my next question. I would like also to ask you, we can start with Rudy. So basically, we have like always this two edges of the sword thing, dilemma, and whatever technology. And with AI, or not with AI actually, with the advancement of several technologies like Internet of Things, like all our data is online, especially now with the COVID. So everything is by obligation, it's online, a lot of data being transmitted and shared, which is something perfect for the AI, because without data, we cannot do anything. But this also poses some security concerns, right? Because more data exchange, more data interconnected. How ready are we from the cybersecurity perspective to this new technological era of just data being available, connected, artificial intelligence being used? Like, because I know that you all have background in cybersecurity, so I would like to see your perspective, like from the pros and cons perspective.
Yes, thank you for that, Ala. And what I love about this, panel, each one of us is we're joined into the cybersecurity world, but most of us are also working on a different project, different use case. And the most important thing here is the use case, okay? Because AI, I think, without a use case, or any technology today, all of these trendy names without a use case is really just a trendy name. Definitely. So let's go back to that question. If you only see, it's not also the technology in terms of hardware or so on and so on, and software. We also have to go into the technology of applications and what's happening in the world. If we go back just last week, 1 week from today, we've seen Facebook leak 500 million users. We've seen LinkedIn also another 500 million users. We've seen Clubhouse yesterday, they announced also 1 point something million users data has been leaked. So really, when you go online, it's about that risk. Do we need to accept that risk or not? Rani will understand it much, precisely, because he works on the cybersecurity front in terms of, fighting those hackers, fighting those new algorithms. Because when he creates a new algorithm, there's a new algorithm that is actually fighting it from the other way around, and this goes all over. So it has to go back to it has to go back to that risk management that we really want. In the beginning of 2000s. Companies were going online. So we had to ask, do we really want to go online or not? Not going online, there's a lot of opportunities that we lose. There's a lot of things that we lose. There's a risk. We have to care. We have to take care. We have to manage. We have to try to protect as much as we can. But in the end of the day, you cannot not be online. So the same thing today with all of those technologies collecting, from your watch, which has an IoT, and it has somehow AI built-in algorithm to your mobile, depending which brand you have, because now even my earphone has an AI built-in chip. So all of this, data, and then when you go to the social world, my fear is more on that social front, not just the IoT technologies. Our lives, you have to really understand and really be responsible of what do you put online and where do you put online, and what, for myself, for example, Facebook and all of these applications, I'm only business oriented. For the last 15, or actually for the last 10 years, I have, I stopped putting any family, because it was a hype in the beginning. And then for me, I said, well, I'm giving a lot of data, and it was, something that I was aware of, not many people. Now people think of, IoT can track you where you are. So you're giving all of these data, you take photos, so you really have to understand what are you giving versus what you are getting. Even when we talk, because when we talk now, Facebook is free. Even if you pay money for Facebook, you're still gonna be, delivering all your data. So that's not gonna change. So we really must understand what is privacy and how we need to protect ourselves. With the rise of IoT and AI, things are getting more complex and more, bigger scale, data collection and so on. And there's different parts of admins' mistakes, or management's mistakes, or, breaches, or even the code itself is not the best you can get. So we really have to understand privacy it has to be privacy also from built-in, and the design of privacy, it has to be really thought of as companies. We're talking here, not just the social media. when you create something, or when you design architecture, or when you design a software, privacy has to be built in from A to Z, going to the backup, not just ending in the how it is working and so on. So you really have to dive into those privacy. Today, GDPR has been on the forefront of fighting the privacy world, especially with those social media, because suddenly we woke up, they can control the world using our data, which is a kind of fingerprint of what we love, what we don't love, where we are. All of these are compounded into a cultural behavior, and then people can understand more. So we really must, as human beings, as person, as a citizen, and as a company, as software developer, as a government, also they have to be aware. For example, if we take Lebanon's case, we have law 81 over 2018. I wish they did not do the privacy part. That's a big debate, and they just did it for Sadr to try to get more money, but that trial on the legislation side was really a failure. So you really have to cover it from different perspectives. It's not just about having the technology and going through from that side.
Thank you for insights, Rudy, and I really like that you shared about also the GDPR and the laws. But I think in terms of AI, the laws are still kind of not very advanced, because relatively AI is a new field, and still, for example, if a self-driving car, let's say it killed a person, then who's responsible? Is it the engineer? Is it the AI? Is it the...
There's a lot of, right, you are 100% right. And that's why they are trying to really formalize it under a governance framework, the AI itself, not just, the algorithms, not just the AI community or the technology. They're gonna even go into the algorithms later on. And we are in the early front of such things.
Exactly. But definitely, it's so much needed in the near future. Thank you for sharing all of these insights, Rudy. And moving to Rani, can you please brief us on your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of focus on some of the technical aspects of this. So, I mean, this huge shift into cloud computing, there's a lot of benefits, right? Companies and SaaS companies can leverage all this data and give you a better service, right? They can give you a better antivirus. They can give you a better logging solution. They can give you a better everything, just because the data is now, they're storing it. They're being able to apply different machine learning data models on them to just basically better their service. But with this, comes some risks, like Rudy mentioned, all the different breaches that are happening, which gives hackers access to this data, and then they can use it in different malicious ways. So in the case of Facebook and LinkedIn, it's just information about each person, their email, their name, but it can become much more severe when it's data that's a bit more fragile, or data that's a bit more important. And for example, you mentioned IoT. So I'll just look at that use case, for example. IoT is everything today. In every house, you probably have like 10 IoT devices sitting there, and you don't know about them. So what's happening in the IoT world is most of the manufacturers who are creating these devices, they don't prioritize security, right? They create the device, and cost is the most important aspect usually. So they develop the hardware and the software with cost in mind most of the times. So what ends up happening, they depend on the user being well educated enough to secure that device. And in most cases, that is not the case, right? Users don't know what to do with security. They
plug and play.
They keep the password. That's the default password. They don't change it. Like all these cases you've heard about recently about someone accessing a security camera in a house, talking to a kid who has those baby monitors. It's all due to just the user just plugging in the device and not changing anything. And this is not the fault is not of the users. The fault of whoever developed that baby monitor, not guiding the user to change that password, to implement a password or force him to put a password. So IoT is a big problem just because of that thing where just manufacturers are not prioritizing security. The cloud computing aspect is creating a whole shift in the industry of how you secure your network, right? So you cannot, previously, let's say let's say Facebook, they can have, protect the perimeter of their network, and they can be fine. Now there's just everything's on the cloud. There's people are using different places to host. There's AWS, there's Microsoft Azure, there's all these different, and honestly it's a very complex environment, and there's a lot of misconfigurations that happen. Most of these leaks that happen are due to either security personnel or admins that have not taken the appropriate steps to securing their admin role on these systems, or just misconfigurations of servers online. Threat actors, they can just scan the internet for vulnerabilities, and they can find one, and then they can do what they want. So it's created a massive shift, and there's a whole new cloud security guide to how to actually implement this. So it's I mean I think it's the more we go towards data being everywhere and everything's online, there's a race. There's always a race for security companies to come in and try to help and keep things secure.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, and I like that you highlighted that it's the responsibility also of the person or the company developing the code to maintain the security. It's not the responsibility of the user. Just
no, they have to. I mean, you have to shift. There's a saying. They say today you have to shift security left. So you shift security all the way to the pre-commit. From initial writing of code, that's where security needs to be prioritized. You don't develop the software, develop the hardware, and then try to go back and try to implement security measures. You have to do it from the start. Push everything left. Try to what you call, you usually used to have DevOps. Now you have DevSecOps or SecDevOps, which implements security measures across the entire cycle of continuous integration and continuous delivery of an application.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Rani, for sharing these insights and highlighting also this perspective from the security story with AI. What about you, Muhammad? Do you have something to add in that regard?
Sure. I'll just share my point of view around the topic. I think AI is a tool. Again, it is a technology. It is a tool. Just like TNT was developed for mining, and then was created and used for bombing cities. At the end of the day, the technology itself can be used for good and can be used for harm. It's how we as humans decide to use it. And so, yes, there are attacks that are being, AI powered throughout in cybersecurity and networks and other locations. But again, AI is also benefiting a lot of our user experience online. And so it's a double-edged sword always. And it's up to us. But I think the major threat is not just privacy. The major threat of AI would be ethics. How do we ethically use AI? And how do we convince companies that own that data to ethically harness that data using AI? And this is the major problem that I think, when you talk to, Instagram, Facebook, all these big platforms that have your data and that are using it without your knowledge most of the time, or without your consent. You've got Facebook creating a lot of models. They've even developed things for mental health as well, where they monitor whether you're prone for committing suicide or not, and send messages to intervene without your knowledge, or without you even knowing that you shared that much data that they could run these models. It's just about ethics. I think more than privacy, because no matter how much data is being siphoned or through attacks, you lose a lot of data. More harm is being done by the unethical use of approved data, where data is being shared by everyone, and we do not really think when we post something or when we share something or when we add a link that we are sharing all that info, but companies are harnessing this data, selling it to others. This is what concerns me a bit more at the current condition of the market than the problems of leakage and security, because leakage and security, it's a double-edged sword. AI will be used to attack and AI will be used to defend, as Rani said, and so it's an ongoing battle. But the battle in us and in companies is the harder battle to win, which is the battle of ethics. When will companies stop, and when it will not be beneficial to their monetary bottom line to use all that data for their benefits?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And here it's tough because like by nature, humans can be greedy, and if they have the opportunity to use all this data and gain a lot of money, basically data is the money now in this century. So here it's very critical. How much will they apply it?
Exactly. That's why. That's what concerns me in the field.
Exactly. But at least like we would like to raise the awareness of the community that even if we're not able to change decisions of big companies, but we as users can be aware and try as much as possible to protect our data.
Definitely. It starts with you. I mean, reading and not clicking accept the terms and conditions and moving on and understanding what you're sharing and what you're allowing. It starts there. Your consent, what you approve these companies to do with your data. And that's data that you own, by the way. This is your data, and this is something that you own. It is not the ownership of the company. You're providing them rights to use that data. And this data is not their ownership. This is something that people need to understand as well.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. Thank you for raising also this awareness point of view, Hamad. Okay, that's good. Also now shifting gears to a bit of a different topic, I would like to ask, like there are a lot of people, I know like now, especially now, more cybersecurity jobs and opportunities will arise, especially when like with AI, because AI is growing and definitely the security concerns are growing, and especially in fields like healthcare, like insurance companies, like security is a main concern. I don't think that companies would adopt AI if they don't ensure the security of their clients in the first place. So I think a lot of people would be interested to get into that field, or as startups or as data scientists. So I would like to ask you if you have some feedback or advice on what degree to get, what certificates, what's the pathway, like from your experience and what you've seen, what worked and what didn't work. What do you advise? Maybe we can start with Rani.
Yeah. So I mean, cybersecurity is the expanding, ever-growing industry and field. There's people you can get into creating applications, security applications, SaaS, software as a service applications that can help businesses or people or end users secure themselves. That's one entry point. The other entry point is going into more the IT side of it, and IT security, and being part of IT security teams. In both cases, I mean, anyone can get into the field. You can just start. You just need to start learning. Have the capacity to learn. There's as many online resources as you want, both paid and free. So I mean, it's just up to the person to kind of dig in, go down the rabbit hole and work on it. Once you get over that step and start learning, you can start with certifications. There's SANS has one of the top certifications in the industry. They have certifications across defensive, offensive, certifications in developing secure software. They have all kinds, and there's many more. because that, you know, in the industry, certifications kind of still give you that status, that you know, expert kind of label. I mean, some people don't agree with that, but I mean, that is how the industry is. Certification is a big thing. And honestly, there's a huge talent gap. You know, you will always find a job in cybersecurity if you're a skilled cybersecurity you know, engineer or consultant or developer or anything, that because there's a huge talent gap globally, not just in the region. There's a talent gap globally, lack of resources, lack of skilled people, and we see it every day. I mean, at Axon, we see it in, you know, large organizations who have, you know, a 3-man IT team, you know, taking care of you know, 1,000 end user organization. I mean, it's too overwhelming. There's no way they have the time to do anything. You know, so yeah, I feel, I mean, anyone can get into it. Even, I mean, I'll give you an example. So we have one of our you know, penetration testing or expert analysts that we have. He used to be actually an environmental engineer. He worked on an oil rig for like maybe 5-6 years, and then he switched to cybersecurity, and he's one of our top guys now. And just, he worked on it. He put his head down. He wasn't, you know, the youngest guy, and he was able to just, you know, learn, get certified, join Axon, and now he's, you know, just working on himself and you know, delivering projects to our clients. So there's really nothing that can stop anyone. You're cutting, by the way. I can't hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was saying there is no like one way paved path. You have to find your path based on what you really want.
Correct.
And where you are in life.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
We can give you a 1, 2, 3 guide, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many ways. I mean, you can go down so many different paths. I mean, Microsoft alone has its own, like, you know, maybe it will take you 5 years to complete all their kind of learning certifications. It's just you have to focus on something, maybe something you like, maybe a certain, you know, direction that you want to go down, and just, you know, do all the learning required. You don't need to have a, you know, college degree or anything. Everything's online now. You can just learn anything you want. Again, a lot of it is free.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the best part, because now you don't really have, okay, the university degree is important, it's helpful, but also if you don't have a degree in the field, you can still learn and upskill your skills if you have really the will for that. So I think it's a huge privilege for the generations. Yeah, cool. Okay, Rudy, I would like you also please to comment on that, especially from like, because I know that you've mentored companies and startups. So what's your comment on that regard? Like, what's the best path?
Yes. I will go into somehow in a path, formulate a path, because there's no one path again. But I just want to, you know, understand first what are the trends today that we really need to focus. It's like, you know, in a university, usually you have to have an orientation. What are the future jobs? And we can do that in here in cybersecurity. So cloud is, you know, the trend, and it's here to stay forever. It's not going anywhere. So you can focus on that part. You know, cloud security. Was it from AWS or Azure or Google Cloud? These are the top 3, you know, cloud providers today. There's more, but this is the top 3. So you can focus, and they have a lot of wealth of training, and most of them are for free, because they want those adoption, you know, they want those engineers to come and be on that forefront. So this is one thing, you know. On the cybersecurity, there's sorry, not cybersecurity, on the AI, there's a lot of, you know, specialization. Rani has dived into this, you know, because it's not just algorithms or not just machine learning. It's also way beyond of this. It's understanding how data works. It's understanding the architecture and the other things also. If we go on the IoT and 5G, that's a full front that is upon us all. The market of IoT is in the $7 trillion. 7 trillion. Let me repeat that: $7 trillion market size. So there will be 70 billion devices by 2025. So these numbers are huge. So this is where I'm gonna be sharing the futuristic part of it, and this is where people should go today. That doesn't mean they should not specialize in the traditional things, but this is where the future is going. Now, going back also to the shortage of skills, we are really in shortage of skills. If we just take one example for Europe, all right, there are 3 million demand for jobs for cybersecurity. The supply is only 2 million. So we are in shortage of 1 million immediate now. There's 1 million job in Europe, just Europe. I'm not just talking the world. So there's a lot of need. There's a lot of people where they want to have to focus on this. So
how much AI is creating for us jobs and not just killing jobs. If we are in the right path, AI, actually an opportunity.
True. This is where you have to see AI as an opportunity, not as AI is only moving certain jobs. If you go back 50 or 60 years before the computer, really the computer age, okay, and they started in being mass available for the public, in the early 80s. But if you go a little bit before that, there was the typewriters at that time. So what happened to that person who was working on that typewriter? The job really didn't change. Wasn't really. He was thrown out, and then he went home, and then he had nothing to do. He adapted and he upskilled to possibly work in computers or work in something else. So jobs are really changing. And today the schooling system, which is very wrong, and the university system is as wrong as the schooling system. You have graduates where they graduate, they don't know anything. I'm not, fighting, because I know there's a lot of students here, but really, if they give more about specializations and I think the university, the students, they are giving more personal effort than what is the university actually giving them. And this is where later on certificates are needed. Why do you still have to you have been graduated, and then why do you still need certificates? So otherwise, you don't need university. So the future is going that way. I've mentored a lot of companies, and I've mentored cybersecurity companies because this is one of my background, and I was in the financial system for a while. I understand exactly what's happening there. Learn more about these upcoming, futuristic, which they are here today, but the skills are really lacking today. If I have a project, for me to collect skills from those that I mentioned is really a problem. So it's an information age, and data is for free and information is free. The internet is the best source. Go and put labs. There's a lot of labs. There's a lot of Kali Linux machines where you can just download it in a matter of couple of hours, depending on your internet. On 5G, it takes less than 1 minute. I'm not doing advertising. The idea of it. And really explore, learn, watch YouTube, read, and try to see what you love, where do you want to, head. Is it penetration testing? Is it, architecture of security? Or is it on the forefront of, this is where things are today. Everything is on the edge. Internet is open and adoption is opening worldwide. And there will be billions and billions more connected devices to be secured. If we are lacking, in terms of human abilities, the resources, what about, the machines that are really aiding and helping and augmenting our, AI is really augmenting our capabilities. That's where I see it, as an opportunity for me to focus maybe on more better oriented things, not just on the data and the raw data or unstructured data. And this is where they are helping out a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Rudy, for these insights. And I like how much you highlighted the fact of how AI is the opportunity for us, how we can utilize it, and not just because I see a lot of people saying, oh, there's AI to replace me, my job will go obsolete, I'm not in an age of learning something new now, or whatever other excuses we tell ourselves. But definitely there's always an opportunity. And I think whenever AI is combined with domain knowledge, so even if a person is just purely from cybersecurity background, that's not bad. On the contrary, that's good, because whenever you have good domain expertise, whenever combined with AI knowledge, then that's where the magic happens, I think. So yeah, that's
yeah. I just want to add something. In Lebanon, especially in Lebanon, we are known to have many apples. Okay, we don't specialize much in generality. I'm not talking in specifics. And that's, for me, is not the best way to go. You know, if you want to be a cloud engineer or you want to be on AI, really dive into the AI, know it from A to Z, because you will be that special guy where people will go to. If I hold AI and I hold cloud and I hold whatever, I will understand them. You know, a part of my background, because I'm not really working from day to day in terms of physical. Rather, I'm more on the strategy side. I have dived into all of this, so I can have more of understanding what they are and how they function. But for specialization, no, I really advise people to really dive into something very specific. Maybe in the beginning they will not know, they need all of this information, but at one point of time, really dive in and be that go-to person where you will have 10 times, I will repeat, 10 times more chances of you getting jobs than traditional.
Yeah,
no
I totally agree. Because I think we lack experts in the market, like people with high expertise in a certain domain.
True.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rudy. Hamad, if you can please briefly, just for the sake of time, tell us also your insights in that regard.
Well, I believe AI over time needs to be just as a skill. So just like you open Word or Excel currently, and you should know that for your current job, you should know how to write a model or run a model or design a smart bot. This is eventually where all staff or all employees are going to transition into. As digital transformation occurs and as smart bots are being developed, and as AI becomes more, public domain, in my opinion, AI is shifted from you need to have a PhD and be the top of your class and with a mathematics degree to something that is more on the level of a master's degree and then on a bachelor's, and now introduced at the age of 14. And so as AI becomes more and more public, it becomes more and more a tool. It's a tool for you to evolve in your business. And so I applaud everyone to go down the road, no matter what educational background they're in or professional background they're in or anything of that sort. I applaud them to go and dive into AI and understand the concepts and the machine learning. And it has been democratized. For me, now you can write a model with 3 lines of code. You really do not need to understand all the details and all the intricacies of how you build a machine model or how you do machine learning or deep learning or how many nodes or all that stuff is not important as much as understanding which model to use when and how do you empower yourself to make decisions in the business world. This is a skill that when added on your CV, whether you are a clerk or a graphic designer or a content writer or I don't know, in any field, or an engineer, computer scientist, in any field is a plus. Because as things progress, AI is going to be a daily bread and butter for what we do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And thanks for sharing that, because a lot of people, I feel they're still resisting the fact that AI is happening, it actually happened, and we cannot really avoid it. We either ride this wave of technological breakthroughs or we're going to stay behind and obsolete in the near future, especially with COVID. Like, it accelerated this technological advancement humongously, and we weren't really expecting that. So definitely no one should be scared to try to understand AI or learn it. And that's why communities like Beirut AI exist, to raise the awareness and to help people learn AI.
Exactly. I mean, if you just look into Kaggle, where a lot of competitions happen, and I invite everyone to go and check it out, you see a lot of models being submitted by a lot of people in AI. Previously, you see universities or big funded people, That's before 2014, along those lines. And then you see a shift or dramatic shift where, you know, a couple of dudes that are 18, 19 years old have state-of-the-art performance on face recognition or on text recognition or on text generation, and you're shocked. And so it has been democratized. You have so many libraries out there, NumPy, Fast AI. They simplify the process for you to build machine learning models or deep learning models or understand the concept. All you have to do is really focus on understanding what you want to do, getting your domain expertise and putting that domain expertise in, and then plugging it into your system and getting the benefits out of it.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you so much, Muhammad, for sharing these insights with us. I think a lot of people would benefit from knowing that. They might need some push to start learning AI, and hopefully now they're encouraged.
Just
we have questions. Yeah, sorry.
I just want to add on that. Just even if you look at, if you want to dive into artificial intelligence without building machine learning models, you can. I mean, there are, like Muhammad said, there are models available online on GitHub, or you can gain access to GTP3 if you want, and you can build something on top of that model. So GTP3 is, you know, natural language processing, right? You can build an application that uses GPT-3 to create whatever you want. For example, I came across an application the other day. It's a company called Copy.AI. They just used GPT-3, and what they did was they just basically allowed, you know, small businesses to use their platform to create to copyright digital marketing, copyright, you know, their brand awareness text, the, you know, copyright the description of their products. All you have to do is you input something. You input like what you do or what the product is, and it generates copy for you. So it's a very simple application of you know, using a machine learning model like GPT-3. But I mean, they're very successful. They have, you know, growth is amazing. They just raised money, so it didn't require for that, you know, that team to build, you know, a learning algorithm from scratch. They just use what's available. I mean, OpenAI is, what they've done is amazing, and it's you know, so many companies now are just using their GPT-3 model to build so many different applications in regards to natural language processing. So you just need to be resourceful and, you know, find them and learn about them and look at their APIs and look how you can use them. Everything's available. Yeah.
Exactly. I really like this idea of like using, for example, the OpenAI libraries, because a lot of people think if they need to get into AI, they need to spare so much time and just to learn AI. And I think just being aware of what applications can be used, like what's the capability of AI, what tools exist out there, and the perfect or the good idea of a startup or company, that's all they need to make breakthroughs. And yeah, so thank you for sharing this idea.
I shared the link if anyone wants to check it out of that company I just mentioned.
Cool, thank you. We have some questions in the chat, but for the sake of time, if we can very briefly please answer them. So we have someone asking that if there's anyone with experience into manufacturing and design. What considerations should I take into account when choosing a problem when it's a field of AI and robotics? So can you give me a kind of a hint based on what should I choose as a problem to solve? Is any of the panelists would like to answer this question?
Can you rephrase that? I didn't really understand the question.
Yeah, sure. So she's saying if there's someone, like maybe she's someone with experience in manufacturing, design, industrial automation, or product testing, electronics. So she wants to use robotics and AI, this cross field. So she's saying, what are the considerations that she should take into account to choose a problem in these two fields of robotics and AI? So what's the hint that you can give her based on like how she can choose a problem? So it seems she doesn't have a problem, but she would like to choose something interesting in that domain, cross domain.
She has a lot of problems. She doesn't know it.
Exactly. I'd like to give it a shot. I'll give her one advice: ask, meet people, go to people and factories and sit with them and find problems. There's a lot of problems in manufacturing. There's a lot of problems in that kind of sector. For sure, I come from a background of manufacturing. I was involved in Encrypt, where we manufacture SIM cards, smart cards throughout the whole MENA region. And so you might think it's a problem, and then, or you've got a solution, but you go down and then you meet on the ground with real people who interact on a daily basis with manufacturing and with these machines, and they will have a whole story. And so my advice to you would be go and try to meet with people in that field, in that industry, and see what is their major pain points and try to solve it for them. That's the best way to create something that would be meaningful, useful, and that you could develop on top of for the future.
Yeah, just let me add.
Exactly.
You put a great point, Muhammad, and I just want to add from my knowledge that first, the industrial, machines or machinery are all following old technologies. Okay, other than new manufacturing, this is something different. Try to see and work on IoT and AI, that combination, because IoT now can be is integrated heavily in the machinery, so they can know exactly what's happening at every point. A second, if you are talking about robotics, I assume also you want automation and and robotization of product manufacturing and so on. So that's a problem, which I think rarely anybody in this region has done anything. And then we see the leading things in the world are the car manufacturers and so on. So other than the normal automations, we mean. So
a big part of this field is preventive maintenance, and so
IoT is a big.
Exactly, preventive maintenance. I know for us, she can come to Encrypt, and we'd love to open the doors if she wants to go into that field. It's a headache for all manufacturers everywhere to be able to schedule preventive maintenance and make sure that they don't lose heavy equipment that usually costs $2 to $3 million and manufacturing runs and downtime. So this is a big aspect in the field that she can go and try to tackle.
Nice. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing the ideas, and maybe she can contact like the speakers if
anytime.
You mind. And thank you for that. Okay, so we also, Muhammad, have another question addressed to you. What are the ethical issues regarding the digital marketing sector? But please briefly, if possible.
Well, technically speaking, since we know the data of people, we can target those people and we can target their emotions and their impulse buying. And this is a big deal, right? It does not take into account whether those people are financially okay to buy or they're financially ready for a step like that. But we can use sentiment and we can use information that we've acquired over these people in order to create an impulse buy. That may not be in their financial best interest. And so, yes, that raises a big ethical question, whether you should do that type of marketing or target that type of people or do, narrow your target market in such a way based on individual insights and individual information.
Yeah.
And yes, this opens up a whole big ethical field of what information to use, what information not to use, how do you target people, and do you really push people against their impulses?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's very, very important to raise awareness on this, because at many times we just see a Facebook ad or whatever social media, and we think, okay, we're just browsing through these suggestions and ads, but we're not aware that they're targeting us specifically because of certain reasons, and playing with the emotions part, maybe to let us buy something, and we're totally unaware, or maybe for political reasons, or
nothing is haphazard. You talk about something with a friend next to your phone, the next thing you see on that Instagram feed or Facebook feed is what you're talking about. And so we all know this is used against us. We should be aware of it as human beings and never put ourselves at jeopardy, and understand that, yes, this is beneficial because I was talking about that and it opens the door for me to see it. But to be in control and aware of ourselves and not go into impulse buying or, into polarization, which is another big issue that's in the States right now ethically, where we've seen how Facebook polarized the elections when Trump was heading in presidency. And so all these big ethical issues are huge and honestly not debated in the MENA region. Right now we're dabbling with AI and technology.
You feel people are not really, maybe not aware or not concerned about it, or maybe they don't know how.
It's a cultural thing. So for example, if you take Europe, if you travel and you put your passport, the country is not allowed to register the fact that you traveled out or into the country. That's part of GDPR. That's compliance. That's your right not to have data about if you're traveling or leaving a country or coming back and when and where. That's not for the state to know. But we come from regimes, or we come from countries where they know if we leave the house. And so it's a cultural issue. It's a cultural awareness more than it is, something that's tech related.
Yeah, I think it all starts with cultural awareness.
Correct.
So yeah, thank you so much.
And regulation. We need regulation. Like GDPR is a regulation that the European Union kind of agreed on implementing, and they're finding companies left and right that kind of don't comply with it. And I think the US is on track to do the same now. We have CCPA, the California one. It's even stricter than GDPR. So regulation is a big start, honestly, in any country. I think in the Emirates, regulation is very strict as well in terms of data privacy. So for me, it starts with regulation on government level.
Yeah, and I think maybe in other countries, like if the regulations don't exist but people are aware, maybe they can push for these regulations. So
they thought the European GDPR it wasn't given for free. I'll tell you that it was a push from the people to get that up and running, and that legislation was developed over a long period of time. It wasn't a shortcoming that just came up in days or weeks or months. And so yes, people pushed for it, and so we need to raise awareness as well to push for more legislation to help us in fighting this issue.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you so much. There are other questions. Maybe they could be asked in the networking session. So please, everyone, stay for that session. And thank you so much for our speakers. It was very interesting discussions. And I think it's very important to raise awareness on this topic, especially now in the digital transformation age. So thank you for sharing all these insights. And I hope also the audience enjoyed this as we did.
Likewise. It was a great session, and hopefully, things come out of as a recommendation also.